In this depth of field quick tip video, we're going to be exploring composition and cropping in Lightroom. So here we are in Lightroom, and we have this image of a construction crane in an urban setting just beyond a park and the row of trees at the edge of the park. So this image has already been cleaned up for white balance and exposure, and now we just want to maximize the final image by cropping it. So we can, in the menus, go to the Tools menu and look at the Tool overlay for cropping and the Crop Guide overlay for cropping. And in this case, you can also use the R key on your keyboard to turn on the cropping tool, and the crop overlay becomes visible. And in this case, we've got the default view of the overlay with the rule of thirds. So 4 guides placed at the thirds of the image horizontally and vertically, and you can see that most of the crane is to the left of this third guideline. So what we might want to do also is change the aspect ratio of the image, and instead of using the original 4:6, I'm going to select a 5:7 ratio, and I like where the left edge of the default positioning is, and I'm going to reduce the crop in just until this point where the two rule of third guidelines cross, and this is where you want to have an object positioned in an image at the intersection of two rule of thirds guidelines. The eye naturally will fall there, and this will result in a balanced image. But one other thing we want to look at with the rule of thirds guidelines in the Tools menu, with the Crop Guide overlay, you can see that we're showing the thirds, but there are other overlays that can be used, including a grid, diagonal, triangle, golden ratio, golden spiral. And you'll also see that using the O and the Shift O keys, we can cycle rapidly through the overlays. So for example, pressing the O key, we've moved on to the next overlay. Here's the diagonals, the triangles, and you can see with the triangles that actually we've got pretty good balance in the image. The main diagonal line cuts right through our crane, and in the bottom right corner, the other diagonal line coming up from that corner at right angles to the original line intersects at that same point that our rule of thirds lines intersected. So moving on again by pressing the O key, now we've got the grid. We'll just cycle through here quickly back to the golden spiral, and you can see by pressing the Shift and the O key on Windows, we can alternate between different positions of the golden spiral. And here you can see in the normal golden spiral overlay that the spiral comes down along the cloud line, through the trees, up along the edge of the trees at the bottom right corner, and then spirals in toward the head of the crane. So that again is showing us that we've got a good harmonic balance of elements in this image. One more look at a different position of the golden spiral, and again similarly the spiral arches up from the bottom left corner toward the top, cutting nicely through the cloud area, framing the bright area of clouds, then coming over the top at a similar distance from the head of the crane, curving back down in, and then as it curls in tightly, very close to the position of the head of the crane where the hook element hangs down. So again, reinforcement that in this image there's several indications that good composition has been achieved and good balance of elements has been achieved. So something to keep in mind: press the R key, look again at our final image, and those are just some of the ways you can use Lightroom to ensure that as you crop an image to focus in on the elements of interest. Using the crop overlay, you can ensure maximum harmony and balance of the compositional elements in the image.